Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. Um, Today we're going to be looking at chapter 22 of the Mastering Shiny book by Hadley Wickham. So the chapter is basically about how to prevent some undesired results, outputs, or outputs from our Shiny application that could be caused by malicious attackers and misleading or inputs allowed by some functions combination. So from what I've read in the book, there are two main things to protect our data and compute resources. So we're talking about the data, we're talking about access to sensitive application data. So we would want to be careful about how we expose some data to the public. So then the second one is the compute resource. So which has relation to attackers that they could be mining it Bitcoin or use your server as part of a spam. So this I'm going to be using a combination of the notes that I have with me and also this chapter. And I would also like to implore you or to let it be kind of an interactive section because I'm not so good with the security aspect, but I've read a little bit about it. So so in general, is at least talking about if we're looking at securing our application, so it's not going to be just one person's job, it's going to be a teamwork. So the deployment of our app is mostly handled by the deployment team or the deployment engineer. So then the security of our Shiny app actually depends on us as the Shiny developer. So we have to know what to expose and what not to expose, what to protect and what not. So, but the deployment team cannot handle that for us. So, so the advice about how to secure this, okay, is so what he's trying to say here is that it's not exhaustive. There are so many ways that you can protect your application. So the goal, just like I've said, is about securing your data and also securing or preserving the compute resources. So I will use more of my notes here, so I hope I'll be able to combine the two. So the first thing that we'll look at is the data. So most sensitive data actually maybe personally identifying information, that's PII. So maybe regulated data, company information or something, credit card data, health information, all these are critical information that needs to be protected and could be passed through our Shiny applications. So these data types are not commonly found on Shiny apps except passwords. So the aforementioned information like the PII most of the time are not always found on Shiny applications, but in rare occasions it could be. But mostly it's about your password. Okay. So for the Shiny application structure, we're talking about the Shiny input here. So that's where the validation comes in. So we use it to for client-side validation, such as data that is user-specific and need the user to authenticate before use. So that's what is related to this password. The Shiny server code, there's the isolation from the server side. So one user cannot see the data from the other user. So it's like we have different sessions and that is protected, but we can still be kind of exposed when we're accepting data, like from the input. Um, from the inputs that we have on our Shiny application. So we've been advised never to include password in source code of our Shiny application. Rather, we put it inside environment variables or use config package. So these are ways that we can protect our information. So instead of just allowing sensitive information like the password to be added to any R script or a Shiny file, Shiny application file, we rather use environment variables or we use the config package. The config package allows us to uh, kind of encrypt our data in some certain ways that it's not going to be exposed to plain as plain text inside of your document. So let me look at the document here. So here we're talking about using of .yaml file to store login credentials. That's an example of using environment variables. Then we use .gitignore to include the appropriate files containing your authentication credentials. So although I don't do things like this, but I don't know from you guys' experience if you've used such methods. Then authentication and client-side validation. There's more than one alternative to authenticating maybe users. So first thing is that you need to add some kind of layer between the user interface and the Shiny server. And this is where the proxy comes in. So it will redirect the user to an authentication page as in a login page. And once authenticated, we check whether the user is authorized or have a particular role, and then let them get access to the Shiny application based on the role or privilege they will have based on their login details. So the following section lists 5 packages of configuration, authentication, and storage of login credentials. So the following are the examples that have been suggested. So the first one is the book, or which is inside this config package. It is used to manage environment-specific configuration values. Okay. Okay. So you can go through the installation using the normal install.packages to install the package, then we load that. So how to store password in a file with config in practice. So it is a link that could help achieve that as well. So generally the package is easier to use. It helps you to guide you through how to keep the files that you will need. So so the package makes it easier to deploy content, and this context is used to keep the credentials outside of our script by saving them in config.yaml while keeping it in the current working directory. So YAML are types of files. I believe we're all used to that. If you work with Git, I think we would have come across a file that is YAML based. So an example would be this. So this is an example of what you will find in the config.yaml file. So this can be accessed by your application. So to record the information back into its directory, then we'll have to use this code. Okay. So another interesting kind of package is the Auth0 package. So the description here shows how it helps you to identify the provider. So it offers a server where you can store the Shiny apps as well as the procedures for setting credentials at access. I've not used this before, but I use Shiny or. So you need an account where to load your app and set up the credentials. So auth.yaml files can be created with the command this, which can be automatically positioned in the app.r directory, and it is already filled with basic information. So I don't know if you guys have used it before, if you want to add any comment at this point. Then you might want to help out here. But I know I've used Shiny Auth. That's the only. So this is the guidance. You have to create this file. So that the content here. So by running this code, auth 0 use auth, it will generate this content for you, the file. Then you can now set up the keys this way with the project name. Mind you, you have to load this app and this package as well. Use this before you can access this function. So this helps you to add. It has a .rm. This file is where you have your information that you don't want to be available in public. You have this here, and you can also create it yourself. So just create a file and give it this name, no other extension, but you have this. Then inside you can now add all this information that can be accessed by the package. So it has a layer between Shiny and the user, and then you can retrieve the credentials using this. So instead of just getting out the information here in plain black and white, you use this function to get it out, and you can now use this in your application. So this method is not exclusive to Auth0 package, but is a recommended approach to use for storing credentials. So basically, it's something that anybody that is using R should have come across without having to use the package Auth0. So because we use it to keep some confidential information as well. So another one is Shiny Manager. So it is a simple and secure authentication mechanism for single Shiny application. So there is live demonstration here. If we click on the link. So if anybody wants, please can you let this be interactive? So I'm not so good with the security aspect, but reading the chapter really opened some knowledge. So the third package that was mentioned here is the Shiny Manager. So maybe before I run this, okay, the link is not working. Let me try this one. So does anybody want to kind of chip in something here? So I'll copy, let me see if I can copy this information here.
We only see your slides screen. We don't see the app.
I think it should take me to an app. Okay. Yeah, it's opening up now.
Yeah.
So for the first user, we're using Shiny. Sorry, the network here is not so good. It's slow. So,
No problem, no problem.
okay, maybe I should share my R Studio where I have the other application. While that is loading, so that I don't take much of your time, there's an example of like a demo for the Shiny or so that is the Shiny Alt AU. I don't know can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Sharing the R Studio.
Yes,
Okay,
can you
so
remind me what the div class poll right does?
you said
On line 14, where it says div class poll right.
this just the CSS format for this the div.
Mhm.
So the comment here is so the HTML tag functions in Shiny like this one returns the object that can be rendered as HTML, but it's just a class that would format your div tag. So this function is going to create a div tag for you that will be rendered in the web browser. So
Okay,
this
thank you.
function so the function generates the div tag that you normally see in an HTML file. So, but this is just the class that would help format that div. So what this application, this Shiny app is trying to demo is the Shiny Auth. That's the Shiny AUTHR package. So this package is also used to help you get the credentials and give users the opportunity to push in their login details in a secure mode. So that's just what I see here. So but it's easier to use. All you have to just do is just you have a data frame that holds the usernames, password, and other user data. So you have this saved here as a table. Okay. So then the normal UI server component of your Shiny app, then we'll run that. So it's within the Shiny UI, you also have like an input here. So that will give the users of your application the means to log in and also log out. So so I'll run this, then we'll be able to see. We'll save that. So here is an example here for the first one. So you're going to have your user one, password one, user two, password two. So the privileges or the permission here. So can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, sorry, the network here is not stable. So we have two users here. The first one has the privilege or permission to be the administrator, and the second user is a standard user. So either way, you can use the username and the password. So if I use user one, then we have pass one. So I'll be able to log in. So now it's telling me what I have. So it's just like a demo, just to show you that, okay, if you're logging in with the first credential, then you have the admin privilege. So, and also you can see by default, Shiny Author comes with default login, logouts controls. So you don't have to create this yourself. So if I want to go with the second user login details, so it's going to be a pass-through. So it's going to show you that you can see each user is having access to different information. So this is the standard permission, while the other one was the admin. And we still have access to kind of a formatted, well-formatted login and logout interface for the users. So I think that takes away a little bit of burden. So I kind of use this more. So this easier. So let me check if, okay, yeah, it's loaded. So, okay. So you're saying no, never on this site. No. So this is the demo app that is available. So I can see any login here, so I don't want to go. So I'll go back to the slide. So basically this is how you can log in and log out. I think I have it open. So in particular, it also provides a function, that's this function secure_app, in which to wrap the UI for the login. So wrap your UI with this. So as well as the server side as well. So it's going to be, this is what is going to be used for the credentials. So this package, the first one, Shiny Author package, is very, so this is the one that I just showed you how you can log in and give permissions and access to certain information based on the user's permission. So, okay, so we have access to all these controls. So these are the main functions which invisibly call JavaScript with the command shiny.js. So it works easily with the shiny.js package, and that's what makes it much more appealing. So you have the login UI, the login server, the logout UI, and the logout server. So you don't need to really kind of do this yourself. It's already created. So it also provides a method for cookie-based or automatic login. So which means that the system can store the credentials for some time as established by the creator of the app. So the fifth package here is Sodium. I'm not familiar with it. So if you're familiar with any of the, I only have, I'm familiar with the Shiny Author. So package, so Sodium is a software library package which is for encryption, decryption, signatures, password hashing, and more. I've not used this before. So generally used in this context to encrypt password with simple commands such as this. So these are the so you can use that instead of using, maybe keeping your credentials in the config or YAML file. So it releases the password in this format. So this format, this is the output. So when you use the function password_store, you get this output as the encrypted version of your password. So another suggestion by the book is to use Kerberos, yeah. So this is a computer network authentication protocol developed by MIT and classified as auxiliary military equipment by the authorities for its capacity to data and capacities of data encryption standard. So the development of the product followed with version updates and implementation by other institutions include this. So it is available with RStudio Pro products. So if you have access to that, then you can use this. So I can't use that. So the example that we showed earlier is just what you're seeing there for the Shiny Auth package. So I don't need to run this again. So this is the same code, and you can copy it and run in just an ordinary Shiny app. Then you'll be able to see how it works. So another example of Shiny inputs with this is this example. You can keep a secret. So then push it in for your app. So I don't know about this one. So what it's explaining here is that an attacker can open a JavaScript console in their browser and run Shiny to see client data that are not allowed to see. So let me first read some of the notes that I have here. So some of the advice that we have based on data is that it is better to authenticate users, identify through their provided username and password on the application. So don't roll a solution yourself by hard coding into the app. So you don't hard code all this important information into the Shiny app. So you also have to work with the IT team. You don't work solely on your own when you're developing Shiny applications. So because teamwork, we all help each other. So also note that code within the server, that's the server-side function, is isolated. So there is no way for user session to see each other, just like what we explained earlier. So we can see what another user that is also available on the same app. Our sessions are protected from each other. So we can see what each one of us is doing there. So finally, Shiny inputs use client-side validation, i.e., that is, it checks for valid inputs. So through the JavaScript in the browser, not by R. So that is essentially within the browser. So that is, it is possible for an experienced attacker to send values that is least expected. That's the hacking aspect of it. So there's an example in the book. So the next thing that I would want to go into with all these examples would be the compute resources. So for the compute resources, there are suggestions here that there are some certain functions that we would not want to use with our Shiny application. That is the pass function and the eval function for any Shiny app at all. So for those who are familiar with these functions, you would know that, okay, it's kind of a vulnerable path to getting your application exposed. So what about error selective this? What can be done to... So actually I have to use the book, but I want to use the slides as well. So malicious attackers can run any R code they want, delete important files, modify data, send confidential data back to the user of the app. So you should never source an uploaded R file, okay? So also don't use the R Markdown render on an uploaded .R Markdown file. So mind you, the combination of this, just like I mentioned, of these two functions is a big one inside for any Shiny application. So it's dangerous. You don't use that. So it is possible to ask R to execute arbitrary code inside a model formula. So this is an example of not to you, of situations where you don't use the eval pass function. So if anyone has better experience with this, so please kindly share your experience. I'll soon round up on this one. So other kinds of possibilities for error chain generators are given by the model formula below. So the formula can execute an extra command print within this LM function. So this is kind of a means of exposure for your application. So another third warning comes from the glue package. So the book in this case suggests to pay attention to use this within your Shiny application. So it's not so, I'm not so good with this one, but maybe I'll get better explanations here. So he said it is better to substitute this with glue underscore save, which instead releases an error warning. So the first warning here is in case of variable transformation, this is what can happen. So this is a kind of a cartoonish here. I don't understand that. So I think at this point, I will allow you guys with your experience to shed more light on this topic. I've read it, but I will use this opportunity to kind of get more enlightened, get more information from you. Thank you.
So just to restate, and talking to the whole group here, we are using glue safe to make sure that the user does not add any more R code or change any of the variables. That's to what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think the point that I understood from this section is that when we're using glue save, uh, the the purpose here is to basically use the given variables that are provided. And in some cases, those variables may not yet be created. They could be null, or they could be, for any reason, there could be an error that the variable is not yet created. So with glue save, it's going to not stop the app. So your user won't see a weird error. Uh, which obviously won't be easy to understand for the user. I think that's probably the point.
Thank you. So I don't know if you can expatiate more on this usage of these two functions. I try to kind of understand it, but I'm not so clear with it. How that's could be vulnerable.
I think with parse and eval, parse is these are generally used when we have code in string format and we want to use it, we want to convert it into an actual code. So I think the point is instead of doing that, we should use glue and glue save rather than eval and parse, because eval and parse could actually run code that is malicious. So, or could run code that produces errors. And as a result, again, the user would see those errors and won't understand what's going on with the app. Instead, if we use glue save, then even if there is an error that occurs, that error is not shown, or we can use alternatives to guide the user.
Thank you. So has any one of you had the experience of using any of the packages mentioned to keep your app or app data safe? Maybe you want to expatiate more on this.
The
Package.
config package is used with Golem, which is also used for creating Shiny apps. So it is used behind the scenes, but you can also use it for the normal Shiny app. I haven't used it directly, but since I use Golem, I use it indirectly. And I also explored the Shiny Avatar and the Shiny Manager packages. I think they are great for normal general usage apps, but if it's something that you want to add a branding information, like a logo of the company and so on, then it's very challenging to make any UI changes to components that are offered by Shiny Manager and Shiny Avatar. But there we want to use our own branding and our own colors that represent the app and the company. So there is, other than this, there is a package called FRBS, which is for the Firebase. If you have heard about Google Cloud before, Firebase is one of the services that offers authentication. And it also has a very good connection with the Firestore database, which you can use to store your data. And you can also manage authentication through that by storing the credentials of the users. So Firebase will manage authentication behind the scenes, which means that we don't have to put the username and password in the database ourselves. So in the event that the database is compromised, uh, the attacker won't be able to see the username and password of the users because it's handled by Firebase. In the database, we just have other information that we want to use in the app. So I wrote the Firestore package. It's not on CRAN, it's on GitHub, and I'm using it for my app. But it's open source now. I asked my company to allow me to make it open source. So with the combination of Firebase and Firestore packages, you can basically generate your own UI. You can generate it as you want with any number of inputs. Generally, we need username and password, but you can add your branding, and then you can handle the authentication using Firebase.
That's awesome. Please, can you share the link to
Yeah, I can share the
the
link.
Firebase?
Yeah.
Yeah, this goes. Thank you for sharing this. Because I actually wanted to ask, how do you now connect Shiny app with Firebase? That's beautiful. Awesome. So I would appreciate if you can share the chats here, then we can all benefit from it. It's actually, that's the only kind of setback with Shiny Altar. Okay, you can't really make so much changes to the UI there, but it's kind of a lazy person's getaway track route to adding authentication to your Shiny app. Thank you. So if please kind of share your experience with on this topic. It's kind of so please kindly check the chats, the link to the Firebase packages there. Okay, thank you.
There's also a Firebase package which is on CRAN, which uses JavaScript behind the scenes, because if you go to the Firebase documentation online, it doesn't support R directly, but obviously it supports JavaScript and Python. So there is a package Firebase that handles the authentication and also a real-time database, which is also part of the Firebase project. But Firestore database, which is recent and it's newer than real-time database, that's not covered by that Firebase package. So, but that Firebase package is also great because it is very fast and it uses JavaScript behind the scenes.
Okay.
Pretty cool. And I think it's very good for applications that run in the clouds, since we want to bootstrap like an examples or some kind of use cases using our application in the cloud. So we just want like some kind of application to be on top of it. But in terms of like private data, I think it's better to have your own authentication and your own kind of database, managing your stuff in your own company or on your own organization. So it's still like I think there's a really important part or rule for packages that really help you do this encryption, decryption, and like just routing, creating this authentication module yourself that will really have your an impact on an organization if you care more about like having your own way doesn't depend on the cloud, so you have your own just the full application in the same package or in the same app. So yeah, it both have their own benefit and advantages and disadvantages. But yeah, I can see that why Firestore and Firebase is very used very much because of their it's very fast and they're very integrable with other Shiny applications or Shiny packages. So yeah, very good.
Thank you. So I think this is where I'll stop for the session tonight. So I'll hand over to Ahmed then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Thank you very much, guys. And in the next session.